You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to another episode of 10 Things. I am former Chiefs team insider BJ Kissel and founder, CEO of KC Sports Network. We appreciate you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching this video on YouTube or whether you are listening to the podcast audio on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, wherever it's at. We appreciate your support. We've got a lot of content that we're putting out every single week right now. We try to make all these podcasts a little different from one another, whether you've listened to KCSN Update today, where I talked with Pro Football Focus's Trevor Sikkema about the Chiefs' 27-24 win over the Los Angeles Chargers at Arrowhead Stadium in historic fashion, or caught the Outside the Trenches episode with Tucker Franklin and myself talking about how Chargers fans have reacted to this game and where Jalen Watson's rookie debut stacks up against some other debuts that we've seen from guys over the past several years, guys like Marcus Peters, who, again, on his first game at Arrowhead Stadium against the division opponent, and that being the Denver Broncos on Thursday night to open up Arrowhead Stadium, had a pick-6 return on Peyton Manning for those who remembered that game, although that one ended a little differently. That was Jamal Charles' fumble. It was returned for a touchdown late in the game. Ended up Chiefs losing that game, one of the very few games the Chiefs have lost to a division opponent under Andy Reid at home. But on this episode of 10 Things, which I should mention is brought to you by our friends at Kansas City Strength and Conditioning. Go see John Renzi over there at KCSE. You can find him online. But I've known John for more than 20 years. If you have a baseball or a softball prep athlete in your family, whether it's a son, a daughter, a cousin, nephew, niece, whoever it is, if you know somebody that, is 10 years old who really, really likes baseball and wants to get better, whether it's KCSE or their partner company that they also work through with KC Throwing. If you are a pitcher, whether it's softball or baseball in the area, go see John and his staff, and they will get you right. Like I said, I've known him for more than 20 years. He has always been a go-to guy when it comes to training. He's been about that life for as long as I've known him. So proud partner of KCSN. Again, Kansas City Strength Conditioning. Look him up. Give John a call. Or if you're older like myself and you just want to get in shape a little bit, John can help you take care of that too. But appreciate them. And this episode of 10 Things, we're going to go through some of the game notes that the Chiefs PR staff put out last night. A little different. This is a little bit more of a meatier show in that, we're just giving you some stats, some records, some superlatives coming out of that performance. There's enough content that you can find all over the place with people's opinions. This is going to be a little bit different style of show. I'm going to go a little quicker. I'm going to get right to the point, but a lot of interesting little nuggets coming out of that game. And these are those little things that you can tell your friends when you're having conversations about the game. Have you come across a little bit smarter to your friends? It's what we're trying to do here at KC Sports Network. All right, let's figure out. All right, let's start with the first one, I should say, and that is that quarterback Patrick Mahomes completed 24 of 35 for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is good for a 106.2 passer rating. And with his 24 completions in last night's game, again, against the Los Angeles Chargers, Patrick Mahomes now owns 1,604 career pass completions. And that moved him past quarterback Alex Smith, who had 1,587 for the third most pass completions in Chiefs franchise history. Again, Patrick Mahomes is 26 years old. I've made this joke on the last episode that we did following the Arizona game earlier this week with the records and all the different things that Patrick Mahomes is doing. He is definitely keeping the Chiefs communications staff making sure their calculators are good and charged with all the things that and all the records that he's breaking. But Patrick Mahomes needs 117 more completions to pass Trent Green for the second most completions in franchise history, which is crazy to think about. But the performance marked Patrick Mahomes' 38th career game with 100.0 passer rating or more, extending his franchise record. And for the second week in a row, Patrick Mahomes found 9 different pass catchers throughout the course of the game. I don't think you're going to find anybody that's going to point to that game and say that's one of the best games that we've seen from Patrick Mahomes. It's obvious statement at this point, but did enough, made enough plays in big situations. And as we've talked about, and I'm sure we'll get into on this episode a little bit, at times you're going to need a lead on the defense. And that's what they did last night. And it's got to be great for Patrick Mahomes to know that he can go out there and not play his best game. And it doesn't all fall on him, that he's got guys on his side of the football that can step up, make plays. We saw that with Clyde Lair, who I really thought provided a spark. Justin Watson stepping up and making a play, beating J.C. Jackson, the big money prized free agent cornerback who was signed because of the Kansas City Chiefs and to compete against the Kansas City Chiefs, and played in that game probably a little more banged up than he would have wanted to. But again, that's why they signed him, was to make to play in games like this and try to make plays. And then Justin Watson, Patrick Mahomes beating him on that play for the touchdown and making a great throw off platform, however you want to say it. Feet aren't set. Just a big time throw right there from Patrick Mahomes. But Kansas, the wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is officially live in Kansas just in time for football season. That means betting legally on same-game parlays, spreads, money line, and more anytime and anywhere across the Sunflower State. To celebrate, DraftKings is giving new Kansas customers a can't-miss offer. Bet just $5 on anything and get $200 in free bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code KCSN to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. That's code KCSN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Must be 21. Physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus issued as free bets. One early win token issued at opt-in. Moneyline bets only. Deposit and wagering restrictions apply. Eligibility and terms at DraftKings.com/Kansas on behalf of Boot Hill Resort and Casino. Tight end Travis Kelsey had 5 receptions for 51 yards, seemingly a quieter game from what we've come to expect from Travis Kelsey, but he led all Chiefs pass catchers in both of those categories. Tells you anything about, we said completed passes to 9 different Chiefs receivers, but again, Travis Kelsey leads the team against the Chargers in a game they won and only had 51-yard receiving. I ask anyone who's listening to this, if you would have been told before the game that the Chiefs' leading receiver would have had 51 yards, I don't know how many people would have then guessed that the Chiefs would still come out on top in that game, knowing that you're going up against, again, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams continues to be an absolute manimal for the Chargers and just be a thorn in the side for Chiefs. But Travis Kelsey, those 5 receptions now gives him 717 career receptions, which moves him past Jimmy Graham, who had 713 for the 6th most receptions by a tight end in NFL history. Again, we're going to continue talking about this like we did with Patrick Mahomes early in his career. Travis Kelsey further along in his. The record books and the things that he's starting to do, including this stat right here, greatest to ever do it. And it's going to continue to become a more prevalent thought in the NFL media community as he continues to rise on rankings like this, because to outsiders and people that just see the highlights, they see him make big plays. These are the kinds of things that resonate with a lot of those people that honestly carry the narrative, a lot of those conversations of the greatest tight end ever. But Travis Kelsey is now 26 receptions shy of passing Greg Olsen for a spot inside the top 5. So again, Travis Kelsey needs 26 receptions to enter the top 5 in NFL history in career receptions by a tight end, which again, is crazy to think about. And if you're wondering who is above him or who's above Greg Olsen in that, Shannon Sharp is 4th with 815. Antonio Gates, number 3 with 955. And then there's a step up for the next 2. Jason Witten with 1,228. And then not a huge surprise, the one name you haven't heard yet that I'm sure you're expecting, Chiefs fans, Tony Gonzalez, NFL leader in career receptions by a tight end with 1,325. He did that in his 17 seasons playing in the NFL, where Travis Kelsey is entering his 10th season. So in 7 years, you double those numbers. Travis Kelsey is on pace to shatter every record by every tight end in NFL history if he continues to play as long as guys like Tony Gonzalez, Jason Witten, playing for 18 years with his Hall of Fame career down there with the Dallas Cowboys. So let's move on to our number 3 thing from the game last night, and that is, let's talk a little bit about the punter. Tommy Townsend sends punt into the record books. Tommy Townsend booted a 74-yard punt in the second quarter of last night's game, tying for the fourth longest punt in Chiefs franchise history. He finished the game with 6 punts for 333 yards for an average of 55.5 yards and a gross of 49.3 with 3 inside the 20 and 1 touchback. Again, specialists, unless they're kicking game-winning field goals, never get enough credit. I'm sure we'll get to Matt Amendola in here, which I thought for a player that had only been with the team for 4 or 5 days to step up in a situation like being a kicker with all the hoopla around Arrowhead Stadium. The first game on Amazon Prime, you got Jeff Bezos on the sideline before the game, saw Henry Cavill, Superman, all kinds of celebrities, saw Paul Rudd on the sideline before the game as well, talking to Patrick Mahomes. A lot of star-studded stuff going on. Obviously, the end zones being painted, the 50th anniversary of Arrowhead Stadium, the home opener for a team that is trying to get back to the Super Bowl, has been to 4 straight AFC championship games. I mean, that is a lot of pressure for a kicker to come into that situation, doesn't know anybody. And I thought he stepped up and played really well. And obviously Tommy Townsend did his job as well. And great for him with a 74-yard punt, trailing only Dan Straczynski versus the Oakland Raiders back on September 9th, 2001. He had a 76-yard punt. And then the top 2 punts in franchise history, both by Dustin Colquitt, and both in December of 2017, a big month for Dustin Colquitt. He had a 77-yarder that year in December against the Denver Broncos, and then an 81-yarder, longest in franchise history, against San Diego on December 2nd, 2007. More random stats and nuggets for you. Thanks to the Chiefs communications department. All right, let's move on. Chris Jones cracks top 5 for quarterback takedowns. This one surprised me. Craig Stout brought this up on the KCSN Live postgame show last night, and it was something I didn't really expect, and that is that Chris Jones recorded 2 sacks in the game, which I did expect because I saw those, in sacking Justin Herbert, giving him his 13th career multi-sack performance. It was Chris Jones' first multi-sack game since a 2-sack performance at Cincinnati on January 2nd, 2022. That was the regular season game that the Chiefs lost to the Bengals. But with the 2 sacks, Chris Jones now owns 51.5 career sacks and becomes the 6th player in Chiefs franchise history to record 50 or more quarterback takedowns. Chris Jones passed defensive end Mike Bell to move into 5th place in franchise history in career sacks. He finished last night's game against the Chargers with 3 tackles, 2 solo, including 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback pressures, and a pass defense to go along with the 2 sacks. Even though I read these numbers, I pay attention to all these stats, I'm still caught me off guard a little bit to hear that Chris Jones is now in the top 5 in Chiefs franchise history of sacks. And that's nothing to do with knocking Chris Jones or what he's done in his career. It's just there have been some dudes for the Chiefs defense over the years that have had a lot of career sacks. So when you hear the 4 names above him, those are the first 4 that come to mind, not knowing if we were going to miss a couple, kind of guys like Art Still and some of those other guys that, had phenomenal careers, but in context of where Chris Jones has had, this opens your eyes a little bit. Chris Jones, 51.5 career sacks. Again, right now, 5th on the Chiefs franchise list. He is 27 sacks behind 4th place. If it tells you the top 4 have really separated themselves. And again, these are all guys, as you're listening, you can probably name all 4 of these guys very quickly. But Justin Houston is 4th with 78.5. Neil Smith, number 3 with 86.5. Tamba Ali, number 2 with 89.5. And then Derek Thomas completely separating himself from the pack with 126.5 career sacks for the Kansas City Chiefs as one of the greatest, if not the greatest pass rusher of all time. Little surprising, not names like Jared Allen. And again, Art Still. Other guys that, had phenomenal careers during their time with the Kansas City Chiefs, but fantastic for Chris Jones and really made the plays when needed. And it's easy to say that after the fact because there were a lot of other plays that would have said, hey, we need to make a play here, and they didn't. But Chris Jones made the big time plays when he needed to. The sack of Justin Herbert deep in their end zone when things really started to flip in the 4th quarter where the Chiefs took the lead, made a stop, ended up being the difference in that game. And that's what you need from guys like Chris Jones, who are one of the 2 or 3 best interior pass rushers in the entire National Football League. You need those guys to step up in situations like that to make a play. To win a football game when your offense needs the defense to make game-winning plays because they were struggling a little bit. And we will see times in which the defense will struggle, and you're going to need Patrick Mahomes to go all Patrick Mahomes and do that. and need it for, an entire game and be consistent throughout. So let's move on to the next one, and that is Jalen Watson stamps his name in record book after interception score. Again, a lot of these stats, a lot of this information brought to you by or thanks to, courtesy of, however you want to say it, the Chiefs communication staff or PR staff. All right, in a game where Jalen Watson made his inaugural NFL start, again, pretty impressive NFL debut for him. Watson had his first career interception in the fourth quarter, returned it 99 yards for a touchdown, giving him his first NFL touchdown, obviously, as well. The 99-yard interception return ties for the fourth longest interception return in Chiefs franchise history. His 99-yard pick six is the longest interception return in the NFL for the 2022 NFL season thus far, and is the longest in the league since a 99-yard interception return for a touchdown by Denzel Ward on November 7th, 2021. Now, Watson's return in tonight's game is the second longest interception return in the history of GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, going back to 1972. Now, that's trailing only cornerback Gary Barborough's 102-yard return versus Seattle on December 11th, 1977, just 5 years after Arrowhead opened 45 years ago. Gary Barbaro had a 102-yard interception return. Again, the only interception return at Arrowhead Stadium that's longer than what we saw from rookie seventh-round pick Jalen Watson in week 2 in primetime against the one team that had the best shot to try and knock the Chiefs off their throne of their 6 straight division titles. And then according to NFL Media Research Department, Watson's pick six is the longest go-ahead fourth quarter touchdown scored by a rookie in NFL history. I'm going to repeat that one because they buried the lead there. According to NFL Media Research Department, according to the NFL's Media Research Department, Jalen Watson's pick six last night against the Chargers to give the Chiefs a lead late in that game is the longest go-ahead fourth quarter touchdown scored by a rookie in NFL history. That is a way to introduce yourself, not only to a lot of Chiefs fans that haven't been following us at KC Sports Network. We've been talking about Jalen Watson. We're not the only ones, but we have been high on Jalen Watson since the beginning. Kent Swanson tweeted out earlier that in the KCSN draft guide, Jalen Watson was projected as a third-round pick and one of Matty Lane's favorite guys in this draft, and one of the players he called out in the 7th round, saying the Chiefs should absolutely get Jalen Watson right here, and we have the receipts on all of that. All right, Chiefs Kingdom, right now I want to take a quick break to talk to you about Trade Coffee. We've talked about it on KCSN. If you follow me, you know I have been an energy drink guy for most of my life, and it's because I can never find the exact coffee that I like, but Trade Coffee makes it so easy. I've gone through the process. I've had the coffee. They've sent me different styles, and I absolutely love them, and I would invite you to do the same. Trade Coffee sends you freshly roasted beans from 60 of the country's best craft roasters. These are small businesses who pay farmers fair prices to sustainably source the greatest beans from around the world. And again, you tell them what you like, they pair you up. Sometimes they're local businesses based out of Topeka. Our guy Nick Leckie from Outside the Trenches went through this process. He got paired up with one from Topeka. I got paired up with one from Colorado. Great stuff. And right now, Trade is offering new subscribers a total of $30 off your first order plus free shipping when you go to drinktrade.com/KCSN. That's more than 40 cups of coffee for free. And if you're listening to this and you drink coffee, we know how much you're spending on coffee. We know how much coffee you're buying. Why not give Trade a try? Get different styles from around the country and ones that are specific, again, to what you like. Get started by taking their quiz at drinktrade.com/KCSN and let Trade find you a coffee you'll love. That's drinktrade.com/KCSN for $30 off. But Watson's 99-yard interception return for a touchdown marks the team's first defensive touchdown of the season. The Chiefs hold a 118-28-1 record. That's an 806 winning percentage in games where they produce a defensive touchdown. So knew that number would be high, but yeah, pretty impressive. Justin Watson getting his first touchdown as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, hauling in a 41-yard reception from Patrick Mahomes in the third quarter. Again, that was when things were really not going well. We weren't getting a spark. I think it was right after the Clyde Edwards-Helaire play where he kind of ran through a tackle of Derwin James. I remember looking on our second screen watch party to Kent Swanson being like, that is a spark. Like, if they win this game, that is going to be a play that we are talking about, in my opinion, because the offense struggling, everybody on the sideline feeling maybe a little tense, anything like that. And then to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire go out there and run through a tackle of the one dude that had been making plays all over the field, set a tone and sent a message of, hey, we're still the Chiefs. This way, Pat McAfee, Chiefs are still the Chiefs. Even when they don't play well, they can make enough plays because they have that championship pedigree to step up and make plays well enough to win a game. But that 41-yard reception was Watson's first touchdown as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, and just the third of his career. Watson finished the game with 2 receptions on 2 targets for 50 yards receiving and the touchdown. I had made the point, coming out of the 53-man roster when those numbers were set, that nothing against Marcus Kemp, nothing against Byron Pringle, 2 of the guys that held, and Darius Fountain as well, mixes in there over the last few years, that have held that number 5, number 6 wide receiver spot. But based on the limited, and this is kind of, recency bias, but what we saw from Justin Watson at training camp, what we saw from him in the preseason, I had made the point of, when was the last time, and maybe it was the first time for me, maybe everybody's different here. Let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, or hit me up on social media and let me know what you think. But, I had never been as confident about a 5th wide receiver's role in the offense, not just being a great special teams player that may play offense if they have to, but what we saw from Justin Watson. I had never had so much confidence in a 5th wide receiver to go out and make plays if needed with Patrick Mahomes in the first team offense, is what Brett Veach and his staff put together with the Western PA guy and Justin Watson, guy who played at Penn. But for him to make that play in that moment was big time. And obviously, but again, got to feel really good about your 5th wide receiver going out and beating JC Jackson, the big money prized free agent acquisition by the Chargers this offseason, who was signed to stop the Chiefs. That, let's make no mistake about why everyone in the AFC West division made those moves, but specifically you draft Asante Samuel, who played really well, dropping the 1 interception that was overturned correctly. That would have made a difference in this game. But JC Jackson getting burned by Justin Watson, Patrick Mahomes making a great throw off platform on that play. Exactly what you want to see, and a great sign. And Brett Veach has got to be feeling really good, not only about his draft picks, but top to bottom on the roster, what they did. It's working right now as the Chiefs are 2-0. All right, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He carried the ball 8 times for 74 yards for an average of 9.3 yards per carry in last night's game, and rattled off a career-long 52-yard rush in the game's 4th quarter. And then maybe most importantly on that, stayed in bounds as well. I know there was he actually ran through a face mask at the same time. And it's pretty impressive to run for 52 yards the way he was running, basically holding that ball as if he was carrying like the Holy Grail. If you remember that play, like, he was not swinging his arms. He was not going to fumble that football. That was his mindset. Still broke through 52 yards. It's great to see from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And again, added 4 receptions for 44 yards. So finished with 118 yards from scrimmage, touching the ball just 12 times. We said it last week after the game against the Arizona Cardinals that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a positive from that game and a spark, and somebody that deserves more credit than was probably going to be given after the game when you saw the final box score numbers. Didn't put up a bunch of huge numbers. In this one, much better numbers relative to the rest of the team. Again, we just talked about leading receiver for the Chiefs had 51 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a 52-yard run. And so got to give credit where it's due, and provided the spark when the Chiefs needed it the most. And actually made a little impromptu appearance on our post-game show last night as we were talking live with James Palmer from NFL Network, and Clyde ran by and said hi on the broadcast. So great to see Clyde step up when, a lot of people have been saying a lot of things about him coming into this season and the expectations for him as a former first-round pick out of LSU. What was he going to do? We saw it last night, making guys miss in the open field. Thought, the screen that came late in that game, I thought it was the perfect time to run that chunk play, and Clyde did a great job making a guy miss to gain like an extra 10 or 15 yards on that play. If you remember that one, that was the Clyde Edwards-Helaire that they signed, and that Texas route that he ran on the play that he basically ran over Derwin James, again, was the play of the game for me. If you're looking for that, what play really was the turning point, at least for me mentally, that was the one. And it all started with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You might be going to the local, gas station, the local, grocery store, and you see a new water brand out there. It looks kind of like Tall Boys beer, but in fact, it's actually just mountain spring water, and that is Liquid Death. Now, why is this water called Liquid Death? Well, because it will brutally murder your thirst, and their infinitely recyclable Tall Boy cans are helping bring death to plastic bottles. They also donate 10% of their profits from every can sold to help kill plastic pollution. Go get Liquid Death at your local Woodman's, 7-Eleven, Roundy's, or Hy-Vee, or find a Liquid Death retailer near you with their store locator tool at liquiddeath.com/KCSN. That's liquiddeath.com/KCSN. All right. And then Matt Amendola, talked about him just a little bit, knew he'd be coming up here at some point, stepping in for Harrison Butker, who's dealing with that left ankle injury. And Amendola was signed to the Kansas City's practice squad earlier in the week, was called up on game day to kick in this game, converted both of his field goals and all 3 of his point after attempts for the Chiefs, and scored 9 total points. And I think, Chiefs go on to win a Super Bowl. Matt Amendola, even if this is the only game he ends up playing for the Chiefs, he's going to get a Super Bowl ring, and he earned it. Those are high pressure kicks. There was Kent Swanson and I talked about this on the postgame show about whether or not it was the right decision to kick the field goal from the half-yard line on 4th and goal. And what my take was then, and obviously it's easy now because it worked out for him, I thought it was the right decision. I did not want to put a lot of pressure on Matt Amendola if they go for it and don't get it. And then the next time they have an opportunity to kick a field goal to try and tie the game, all of a sudden it's a 45, even a 50-yard field goal. They're putting a whole lot of pressure on him when you could have just made it easy, reset the game. That I think was the first play of the 4th quarter when they kicked that field goal. You just turned it into a 15-minute game. All of a sudden we're tied now, clear everything. It doesn't matter what happened before, clean slate right here. And you're taking a lot of the pressure off of your kicker, who again hadn't been with the team, but for 96 hours. And even though he started on the practice squad, probably very obvious that he would be coming up at that point to sign him. So I don't know how close Harrison Butker was to playing. Hopefully now that he's got 10 days before the Indianapolis Colts game, hopefully Butker can get back and ready to go. But huge shout out to Matt Amendola. Those are the kinds of stories and things. And you go on to win. You look back at home field advantage at the end of the season and how important games were that you won early. That's going to be a big one. So, all right. And the final nugget in this episode of 10 Things. We appreciate everybody for hanging out and spending part of your day with us, whether you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google Play. We appreciate your support. Chiefs extend streak of 9 games with field goals. Random special team stat here. With 2 field goals made tonight or last night, the Chiefs have now converted a field goal in 15 consecutive games dating back to the 2021 season. The 15-game streak is the 4th longest streak in franchise history, trailing only the 18 consecutive games that field goal was made back in the 2001-2002 time period. So completely random stat. If that one comes up for you in a conversation somewhere and you look smarter to your friend because of the consecutive games of the field goal, please let me know about it, because that is a story that I might want to hear. So I know that it was valuable to put into this podcast. So again, appreciate everybody for listening. Go check out my conversation with Pro Football Focus's Trevor Sikkema earlier today on KCSN Update, recording this on Friday. And then, yeah, if you just want some lighthearted fun, random conversations dunking on Chargers fans being really upset about doing everything in their power, playing well, and still not being able to beat the Chiefs, and go listen to Outside the Trenches with Tucker Franklin and myself, as Nick Leckie had the day off. And then we will have 21 questions with, I believe, Kent Swanson and Craig Stout, and maybe another guest will be this week. But we'll have content covered for you over the weekend as the Chiefs playing on Thursday night gives them a few extra days to rest before they go and take on the Indianapolis Colts on the road here in about 10 days. They're not back at Arrowhead Stadium for a little while. I don't think until October. The Chiefs will be back for a home game. So enjoy that. A lot of big games coming up after that Colts game. Not going to say the Colts, all NFL teams are good, but you look at the Chiefs schedule. I'll bring it up right now for those listening on audio, don't have it right in front of them, but we talked about how difficult this schedule is going to be for the Chiefs. Well, they play the Colts, and then they're at the Bucks, home against the Raiders on Monday Night Football, and then they've got the Buffalo Bills. That is the big one. Again, that is Saturday, October 16th, actually the day after the KCSN, the first annual KCSN charity golf tournament. If you're listening to this and you're signed up, just know that that is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of cool stuff that we're planning for that one, but we appreciate all your support. We know there's a lot of great places to get Chiefs content right now. Chiefs fans are very lucky in that, and we are very appreciative of just being maybe one of those places, along with all the other great ones that you get some Chiefs news and updates. But for BJ Kissel and everybody at KC Sports Network, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.